Here are 5 tips that you should know in order to edit 10 times faster in Adobe Premiere Pro. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first 3 tips are going to be related to shortcut keys. If you don't know where to access your shortcut keys, just hit Premiere Pro, go to keyboard shortcuts, and from here you can edit any keyboard shortcut that you want. Just know that I'm using a MacBook Pro, so if you're on a PC, you're going to have to flip the command button with the control button. Okay, with that said, tip number 1. Create a set of shortcut keys for every window that you use very often. So what do I mean by windows? Basically, I mean these panels right here. Just to make things visually easier to see, I'm going to drop these in and create a timeline right here for this thing. Now you can see that this is the project panel that contains all my folders and files. This is the effects control where I can scale up and down and move left and right. And here is the sequence, the timeline, where I can browse and view everything. And I usually put effects right here. So just know that this is a custom workspace that I created. That isn't actually one of the tips of this video, but I definitely think it'll help with editing faster if you create your own personal workspace that just has all the tools that you use very often. Anyways, so the actual tip is to basically do what I'm doing right now. You can see the keyboard shortcut I'm using right here, and these are the things that I use very often. So I assigned a set of keyboard shortcuts in order to switch between them. So for instance, if I'm browsing the sequence right here and I want to add an additional clip, I can just do that. And then I can click here, use the keyboard shortcut to go into effects, do what I want with the effects. And if I wanted to search for another effect, it's right here. So I'm just going to drop in this shadow. I'm not going to do anything because this is a clip. But if I do this, you can actually see it a little bit. From here, let's go to Lumetri Color and change up the color a little bit. I'm not trying to make it look good, but I'm just showing you guys how it's very easy to switch between things that I want to do by just having a lot of keyboard shortcuts for the different panels. So I'm going to show you guys exactly what I used for these keyboard shortcuts. And by the way, these are completely original. I didn't take this from anyone. I just figured this is the fastest way to just navigate between the panels. So I'm going to hit Shift right here, and Adobe is going to show you guys right here on these letters what the panels are. So this is projects, Shift Axis Effects Control, Shift C is Lumetri Color, Shift V is Essential Sound, and Shift B is Essential Graphics. I also have Shift A as Audio Track Mixer and Shift S as Timelines. In case I have multiple timelines, I can easily just switch between them. And the ways you can find that is just hit Projects, and now you can see that I have it right here. So if I wanted to make it a different one, like Shift N, that's all you have to do. Just click this area right here where it's under shortcuts and then type in the combo that you want. I'm gonna delete that because I don't actually want that there. And then click OK. And basically you have yourself that set of shortcuts. And you can go ahead and open up windows right here, like this window tab, to see all the windows that you primarily use. And I suggest putting them into like one place where like you usually don't use it at the same time. And that's basically it. Okay, tip number 2. So now we're going to talk about navigating the timeline. Like for instance, let's say you have like a pretty big timeline. I'm just going to do a little bit of cloning right now. Let's say you have a timeline with a lot of stuff. This is actually not that much stuff, but it's long enough to the point where you do have to zoom in to do fine cuts. So it's better that you do have shortcut keys for navigating the timeline. For instance, if you want to zoom in a lot, equal and minus are the default settings, so you should be using those. But if you want to zoom out all the way, Command Shift minus is the shortcut key that I use. Again, you can just look it up. It's called Zoom to Sequence, and I set it up as this. There is a default shortcut key for that, but I hardly use it. And there are some other zoom settings that you can set as well. Generally, the ones that I use are the equal and minus, as well as using Z. Just press Z and then just highlight the area you want to work on. Okay, another great way to navigate the timeline if you have a bunch of clips is to use the go to previous edit point on any track and go to next edit point on any track. So I'll show you how that works. I set it up as Command minus and Command equal sign. So basically the breakpoints right here, as you can see, there's a breakpoint right here. If I were to use it to go back, it would move the playhead to that point, and I can now play it and look through it, or I can just go to the next breakpoint by using the keyboard shortcut. So that is another nifty way of navigating the timeline. And another way to navigate the timeline in the sense that you're editing keyframes, I'll show you guys, by adding a keyframe here and then adding a keyframe here. So sometimes you want to just like make sure you're hitting the next keyframe and you don't always want to click this button right here. What you can do is set up a shortcut key. I set it to select previous keyframe and select next keyframe, and it's Command Control minus and equal. So now as long as I have the effects control clicked on, I can go back and forth between these keyframes quite easily, instead of always having to click right here. So tip number 2 was a quick one. Let's move on to tip number 3. Okay, so this is probably one of the most useful tips right here, and that is editing in the timeline. So while I'm editing, one of my favorite things to do is just hit E, the E key. This is something that I set to add edit to all tracks. So I'll type it out right here, add edit. I used to have it as a regular add edit, but then add edit to all tracks. What that does is it cuts the entire thing. No matter how many things are right there. Add edit alone will only cut the things that are either highlighted, or if they're not highlighted, they'll cut the things that are toggled on, which you can see in this blue right here. So for me, it's a lot easier to just hit E. Another reason I really like the add edit tool is because after you click E, like say this is a point where I messed up, like this section right here is where I messed up. I'm gonna undo that. So I wanna get rid of everything in between these two markers, and I want to do it pretty quickly. What I've already done is add edit right here, and then once my playhead moves to this spot, all I need to do is click Q. And what Q is, it's the default is ripple trim previous edit to playhead, so you don't need to change anything. And then the reverse of that, say like I wanted to get rid of this section right here, all I need to do is click W. So basically what happened was the playhead right here up until the next edit point, which is right here, is deleted. And that's just a really fast way to edit out mistakes. Like say I made a mistake here and I wanted to cover it up by deleting up to here. And by the way, I currently have the sequence setting as selection follows playhead, which means if I were to turn it off, if I were to move the playhead, you can see that it doesn't follow it. And if I turn it on, now you can see that wherever my playhead goes, it basically highlights the topmost clip. And I do find this useful to speed up the process sometimes, so I can just move my playhead right here, and then as you can see in the effects control, it follows it. So now I'm changing the effects for that specific clip right here, and I can just do that instead of having to move the playhead and then click on this which is 2 steps versus 1. Okay, another trick that I find very useful while editing in the timeline is, let's say that I cut up this one a bit, so it's not like beginning and end right now. So if the timing on these 2 clips is not the way I like it, like I wanted this clip to go on for a little longer and I wanted this one to be a little shorter, you can hold Command, go in between them, and then shift to the right a little bit, and then you'll get more of the clip on the left and less of the clip on the right. Same thing if you go in reverse. So basically it's a fast way to move your clips around by dragging them like this, but instead of doing 2 steps, you just do 1 step. And those are the tools that I use pretty much the most often to do my cuts in the timeline. All right, moving on to tip number 4. So a lot of the times I never actually start off with a project like this. What I actually do is have a template in Premiere Pro. So basically I work with this project file 80% of the time. So having a template project is very useful because you can basically store all your assets in there. Like for instance, my outro card that I created in After Effects, all I need to do is open assets and then dump it in every time at the end, instead of always having to find the file and then importing it. I also have image assets that I can use very easily by just bringing them in like that. But I will say that the most useful thing about having template projects is not actually the file assets, it's the sequence assets. So I already have like pre-made sequences where, like for instance, I'm already in the pre-made graphics sequence where I have some title cards that I've created beforehand that I can basically just copy, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just make some room and then copy, and then I have it basically pasted over like that. And then now I have this title card right here already. So instead of like creating it over and over again for every single different video, I just have this sequence that I keep open and then copy over the title cards. I usually have them grouped up like this. You can command group, and then I just have to click it once, hit command C, and then paste it to the timeline. I meant command a G to group it, not command group. I also like having this basic title card right here. Again, all I need to do is copy and then make sure that I have it right here, paste. I know I destroyed some stuff, but that's okay. And now I have this neat little card right here that I pre-made. So every time you finish a project and you created these nice little graphic inserts like this, just drop it into like a pre-made graphic sequence, have it lined up and know exactly which one is which, and then just copy and paste it into your new project anytime you ever feel like you want to use it. I also have a 4K version of it. This is the 1080 version. And then videos where like I use a very specific format, like 5 tips, like this video. All I need to do is copy and paste this sequence and then paste it outside and then rename this to like 5 tips Premiere Pro 10 times faster. And then now I can open it up. And all I need to do from here is drop in some new footage, and I already have all the graphic cards laid out. I can choose which one I want to use, and the music that I want to use is already laid out as well, and the end card. So that is tip number 4, work with sequence templates inside of project templates. And tip number 5 is basically the same idea. When you reuse a lot of music over and over again, it's best to just create a music sequence. So what I have right here are music sequences for songs that I use very often in my YouTube videos. So as you can see in this sequence, all I did was find a breakpoint in the music where it's very easily like repeatable without being noticeable. And then I added a little constant power right here so that it's even less noticeable. And after I made 2, you can hold Option or Alt and then just move it and it'll create like a clone. So for instance, if I didn't have this here, I just need to do that and then do it again and keep doing it forever until, until you're satisfied basically. So I put it up to about an hour. So anytime I have like new footage, like right now, all I need to do is drag this into the rightmost area, delete this because there's no visuals. So you can do that by just holding Alt or Option and then delete it. And all I need to do is move it to the audio layer 2 or 3, depending on if I have stuff on audio layer 2. Drag it all the way to the left and then just cut to the point where it's done. And then boom, music has been added. And not only that, I set this up so that this right here, let's go to the Shift A, so audio track mixer. This right here is already set to -32. So the music will basically be at a level that's pretty good if I wanted to have like dialogue or a podcast going on. This is actually the one that I use for my team channel very often. So that's us like talking about movies and anime and whatnot. So we always keep the volume pretty low. And because it's set that way for this sequence, once I drag in the sequence here, the audio levels are already optimized for music. So by setting that up, you basically eliminate a lot of steps that you have to do over and over again for each project, and that will save you a lot of time with the editing. Okay, so those were my 5 tips for how to edit 10 times faster in Adobe Premiere Pro. If you guys want to learn more about the Adobe products, like how to enhance your voiceover in Adobe Audition, or how to use the multi-camera tool in Adobe Premiere Pro, consider checking out my Skillshare classes. If you click the link down below, you'll get 30 days free to watch all of them. And if you're done with Skillshare, then you basically just watch the course for free. Anyways, if you guys found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe. And feel free to put any questions down below in the comments. I'll try my best to get back to you guys. All right, good luck editing. I'll catch you guys in the next video.